Who can get the Karra? Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhus and Matajis. So, welcome everyone for this Saturday evening program of continuing to hear on this glories of Purushottam month. So, this is the last weekend. So, let's all take opportunity of intensifying our devotion service by hearing about pure devotees from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and take inspiration in our own devotional lives. So, we'll start with Jaya Radha Madhav. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. जय श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, श्री श्री पंचतत्व भगवान की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि परिप्रिये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So in the last few sessions we have been looking at, started off with Devkinandan Prabhuji nicely glorifying the month of Purushottam, how Purushottam month took shelter of, exclusive shelter of Krishna, and how she got the protection. She didn't go anywhere else but to Krishna. And Krishna, whoever comes to Krishna, Krishna never forsakes them. That is a sign of a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's why he is called as Purushottam, Supreme Person. And after that we have been looking at various examples from Srimad Bhagavatam, where we can see this mercy of Krishna being manifested and how the devotees have accepted the mercy. Not only that, how the devotees have, throughout their lives, they have seen Krishna's presence in good as well as in bad situations. So the last few sessions we have looked at Bhishma Dev, how Bhishma Dev led a life of sacrifice. He's an emblem of sacrifice. And yet he was constantly remembering Krishna throughout his life. And that is a result that in that time of leaving his body, he could meditate on Krishna. It is not possible, as we saw, that you can spend a life full of being materialistic and not remembering Krishna, and at the last time remember Krishna. It does not work that way. Whatever you have been doing, that is what you think at the time of death. And this can be seen in the life of Bhishma Dev. Then last week we saw Kunti Maharani. So we're looking at the glorious heritage of the Pandava family, starting with Bhishma Dev. Last week we saw Kunti Maharani, how glorious she is, that she is also, unlike others, she's praying for difficulties to come so that she can always remember Krishna. And by remembering Krishna, one can get out of the cycle of birth and death. So we saw Kunti Maharani's beautiful prayers last week. And today we will look at Arjuna. How Arjuna, we know, is a pure devotee of Krishna. He's also coming in the same lineage as Bhishma Dev and Kunti Maharani. And the same heritage or this glorious devotional tendencies we can see in the life of Arjuna also. Although all five Pandavas were great devotees, but Arjuna specifically is special because of his special relationship with Krishna. And we see that in this pastime that appear in Bhagavatam. So before we get into the Arjuna's reflections in the first canto, 15th chapter, we will spend some time looking at the background to this chapter, or then we understand truly Arjuna's mood in which he's offering these prayers. So we know that Arjuna, when after the end of the war, Ashwathama, he killed the 5 sons of Draupadi. Mercilessly he killed the 5 sons of Draupadi. And he wanted to please his master Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was lying on the battlefield after being hit by the club of Bhimasen. So he was about to die. His thighs had been broken and he would leave any time. But he wanted to please his master one time before he left. So he mercilessly killed when they were sleeping in the tent. All the 5 sons, he beheaded them. And he went and took this good news, so supposedly good news, to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was lying on the bed. He was lying about to leave his body, and he wanted to give the good news, saying that I have wiped out all the descendants of the Pandavas. So I wanted to give this good news to you. Surprisingly, Duryodhana, he said that what you have done is not good. So even Duryodhana, such a demonic person like Duryodhana, he also didn't approve this heinous act of Ashwathama. And Ashwathama was a son of a Brahmana. He was a Brahmana, the Dronacharya's son. And he did such a heinous act. Even Duryodhana didn't approve of it. He said that, you have wiped out all our last remnants of our family. And my Guru Maharaj used to say that at the time of death, one comes to this sanity. So why to wait till you die? We should come to sanity before that. But anyway, Duryodhana showed us that, at the time of death, all these reflections come to you, and then you truly understand what you have done in life. So, after doing this act, obviously Draupadi was mortified by this act of Ashwathama, like a mother would be. So, Arjuna took a vow that he will go and capture Ashwathama, he will bring him to Draupadi, and only after standing on his head, she will be satisfied, and then she will be pacified. So he took this vow, and he and Krishna took the chariots and started chasing Ashwathama. And Ashwathama, in his usual reaction, he didn't know what to do. Now he knew this act of releasing Brahmastra, which Dronacharya had taught him, but unfortunately he didn't know how to retract the weapon. So by right he should not have released the weapon. As per the rules of Shastra, if you don't know how to retract the weapon, you should not release it. But he completely forgot about all that because he wanted to just protect himself. He knew his life was in danger. So he just released without thinking of the consequences. He released the Brahmastra. And Brahmastra, as we know, is the most powerful. Prabhupada explains that nuclear weapon, we know in the material world, is the most powerful weapon, and we know the consequences of what happens if nuclear weapon is released. But Brahmastra is much, much more powerful than a nuclear weapon, because nuclear weapon is gross material weapon, whereas Brahmastra is subtle material weapon. So subtle things have more power and more potency than gross things. Right? So he released the weapon, and he didn't know, and obviously the effect of that was that the whole Brahmanda was in difficulty, and it would burn the whole Brahmanda into ashes. That was the power of Brahmastra. So at this moment you have the scene of Arjuna and Krishna waiting as the Brahmastra is coming towards them. But Arjuna, what he does, he doesn't behave like Ashwathama in reacting to the situation. Rather, he responds proactively to the situation. What does he do? He gets down from the chariot, he does Achaman, and he offers beautiful prayers to Krishna. Just imagine the Brahmastra is coming, and Arjuna has all the time in the world to get down, do Achaman, and offer beautiful prayers. Krishna Krishna Mahabhao. What is it after that? Bhaktanam abhayankara tomeko dahyamananam apavargosi samsritehe. Beautiful prayers he offers, saying that Krishna, you are the only protector of all surrendered souls. Only you can take us from this process of birth and death called Pavarga to Apavarga, beyond birth and death. And he offers 5 or 6 prayers. And Krishna, as time, actually suspends everything when this is happening. That is the potency of Krishna. Once you take shelter of Krishna, you don't need to worry about time, because Krishna is the controller of time. So Krishna can do anything. He is the Yogeshwara, supreme mystic. He can control everything. And Arjuna had complete faith. So he didn't worry about what would happen with the Brahmastra. He knew that Krishna, as long as Krishna is there, everyone is protected. And we just have to take exclusive shelter of Krishna. So this is the greatness of Arjuna. All through his life, he had so much of association of Krishna. And he always, of course, he had a lot of friendly relationship. And in Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, when he sees the universal form, he feels very embarrassed that, this was the person I was talking to in a very friendly way. He says beautiful verses in that 11th chapter. Hey Madhava, hey Sakha, hey Achyuta, I called you like this, very casually I dealt with you. When he saw this universal form, he realized that who is Krishna. So that was his special relationship with Krishna. And he never took the relationship for granted. He always knew that Krishna was Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he never was afraid to take shelter of Krishna. So after this episode, then of course Ashwathama, so then Krishna told Arjuna that now you counteract this weapon with your own Brahmastra. And then he released the Brahmastra, and he retracted the other both Brahmastras, and he controlled the other one, and it was nullified. And that's how the whole situation was saved. But Arjuna never depended on his own abilities. Although he was fully capable of doing that, he completely took shelter of Krishna. He depended on Krishna. This is the aspect of Sharanagati that we have been speaking about. Self-surrender means being fully dependent on Krishna. Even though you may have all your material abilities, actually in these prayers of Arjuna, we'll see what is the value of material abilities if Krishna is not there. So he fully knew, and he first took shelter of Krishna. Although he was fully capable of, Prabhupada writes, he was fully capable of retracting it, but he never depended on his own abilities. Rather, he depended fully on Krishna. As a result of which Krishna was pleased, and he gave him the mercy that now you retract. And after that he was captured, and then we know how Draupadi Mata was so merciful that he decided to not kill him. So that is a separate thing. So after this episode, in the 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, which is titled Disappearance of Lord Krishna from this universe. So Arjuna, actually before the Lord disappeared, we know this this pastime that happened in the Prabhasa Kshetra, where Krishna arranged for all the Yadu dynasty to go back. So he created the fratricidal war, where they would fight against each other and kill each other. Because Krishna knew that after he disappears, because the Yadu dynasty was so powerful that nobody could control them. So they knew that without Krishna, they may misuse the power, and they may cause a lot of pain to this universe. So Krishna didn't want that. Besides, also the members of the Yadu dynasty had come. Some of them were demigods, some of them were his associates in the spiritual world. So he wanted them to go back to the respective positions. So he had to arrange this pastime so that they could wind up their activities and go back. So that was the other purpose of this whole Leela. So Krishna enacted that pastime of Yadu dynasty's disappearance in Prabhasa Kshetra, and he himself was getting ready to leave, because Brahmaji and all the other demigods, they came to offer their prayers. It appears in the 11th canto, where Brahmaji is praying very beautifully to Krishna that, my dear Lord, that you have come here to removed the burden of this world and you have achieved everything. You have actually taken care of everything. You have killed Kamsa, all the demons, everyone, and you've established Dharma. More importantly, the battle of Kurukshetra is over. You have established Yudhishthira Maharaj as a king. So Dharma has been established. So your purpose of your appearance has been fulfilled. Now, if you may kindly desire, please go back to your abode. So Krishna responds very nicely to Brahmaji, saying that yes, I am ready to go back, and on the way back, I will pay a small visit to your abode, to Brahmaji. So it's such a beautiful thing. Krishna said that he will stop by for a while at Brahmaloka. See, the whole thing is his creation. He can do whatever he feels like. So he said, I'll stop by for some time at Brahmaloka and then I go back to my spiritual abode. So in this way, Krishna was getting ready to leave. And Balramji had already just left before Krishna. So Krishna was the last person. And before he left, he obviously gave instructions to Uddhava. Then he also told his Daruka, his charioteer, specifically he told him that go back to Dwaraka and ask Arjuna to come from Hastinapura. And he wanted his queens also to be taken away from Dwaraka, because Krishna told that after I leave, the whole city of Dwaraka will be submerged in the ocean. That's why today also if you go to Dwaraka, you cannot see whatever has been constructed is after that. The actual Dwaraka is under the sea. So when you go to Bet Dwaraka, which is the only remnants of Dwaraka palace, you can actually see on a clear day, I have not seen, but I think devotees have shared, on a clear day you can see some remnants of the fort or the palaces under the sea. So that's what happened to Dwaraka after Krishna left. So he already told that this is going to happen. So please take away the remaining residents, which are mainly his 16,000 queens, away from Dwaraka to a safe place. So he tasked this to Arjuna through Daruka. He sent the message. So obviously Arjuna was very happy to do that service. He came from Hastinapur. So this is the chapter of 14th chapter when Arjuna comes from Hastinapur to Dwaraka and Yudhishthira and Bhima are conversing. So it's been almost 7 months since Arjuna left. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, so Krishna has already left now. And now Arjuna will come back and he will relate to what are the incidents that happened and his realizations. So already after Krishna's disappearance from this world, Yudhishthira Maharaj started seeing some very bad ominous signs, like jackals screaming, cows urinating instead of giving milk, very terrific winds blowing and blowing dust everywhere. These are all very bad signs according to Shastra, not auspicious signs. So Yudhishthira Maharaj he got an understanding that something is not good. And before this, actually in 13th chapter, Narada Muni has already told Yudhishthira Maharaj that after the Lord leaves, you also get ready to leave. So he already gave a hint that Krishna is going to wind up his pastimes very soon. So he got a confirmation of what Narada Muni had foretold. So he started seeing all these symptoms. And after 6 months has passed, Arjuna comes back to Hastinapur and is looking very dejected and forlorn. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking, what happened to you? So he is asking about first the welfare of the residents of Dwaraka. Is everyone okay? So asking about all the devotees, like Krishna, Balram and all the other devotees in Dwaraka. He's asking about their welfare. Then he's asking that, I see that you are looking very dejected. So he asking various questions, that have you not done this properly, have you not done this? So few questions he asked like that have you denied charity, have you not taken care of men, small children, old people, women, then have you not, have you denied some prasadam to somebody, so different questions he asking. So these are all things which are not properly followed in the Varnashrama system, especially the Kshatriya Varna. So these questions, actually the answers to that are those who don't follow the Kshatriya duty properly. So these are the things that he's asking. So he's asking basically, are there any mistakes in your carrying of your duty because of which these things are happening? So he's asking these kind of questions to Arjuna. So now Arjuna begins to answer. But just before that, we should also try to understand that we saw that Arjuna retracted the Brahmastra. But Arjuna, we know that such a great personality. He is the expansion of, so Krishna and Arjuna are considered expansions of Nara Narayana also, because they are, of course, Krishna is the origin of everything. But for the purpose of appearing in this material world, it is said that they are expansions of Nara and Narayana. So Nara is Arjuna and Narayana is Krishna himself. So he's not an ordinary personality. So we see from Mahabharata that Arjuna's qualities are really wonderful. And that is important for us to reflect on before we understand the prayers of Arjuna. in what mode he is praying. So we have various names of Arjuna. We have, of course, Arjuna is one name. He is also known as Partha, being the son of Pritha, who is Kunti. But because of his qualities also he has got some names. He is called as Savyasachi. Savyasachi means one who is ambidextrous, who can use bow and arrow with both hands. Both hands he was expert. He is also called as Gudakesha, who is the conqueror of ignorance. And he would not sleep. He would always practice archery when he was in the ashram of Dronacharya. Even in the night he was practicing without sleeping till he perfected his archery. He is also called as Jishnu. Jishnu means one who is unconquerable. So he was unconquerable in fight. He is also called as Vijaya. Vijaya means always victorious. And is called as Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya because he specifically went to all the kings and he extracted their wealth for the purpose of Rajasuya sacrifice that Yudhishthira Maharaj had to do. So he had such glorious abilities. So this is Arjuna. And besides that, Arjuna went to the heavenly planet and he also fought with some demons on behalf of Indra. He also fought with Lord Shiva and he pleased Lord Shiva by getting all the weapons. After that he got a lot of weapons, Pashupata, Astra and various other weapons from Lord Shiva. And more importantly, Arjuna had complete control over his senses. So this is the great quality of a devotee. So apart from his material abilities, he had such spiritual prowess also. Because when he went to the heavenly kingdom, I think it was one of the Apsaras, Urvashi, I think, she was so attracted to Arjuna and she expressed a desire to marry him. So he said, "No, you are like my mother." So Arjuna had complete control. Same way Uttara also. When Arjuna they were incognito for 1 year in the kingdom of Virata. He was teaching her dance and she also expressed a desire to marry him. So he said, "No, you are like my student." So that's why he got his son Abhimanyu married to Uttara. So we see a lot of instances where Arjuna had complete control over his senses. So he was such a glorious person, both materially and spiritually. So in this background now we can begin to appreciate what Arjuna is going to speak. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj is placing all these questions to Arjuna, Arjuna then he says, starting from the 5th verse of 1st canto, 15th chapter. So he starts with that verse where he says, "Vanchitoham Maharaja Harina Bandhu Rupina Yena me apahratam tejo deva vismapanam mahat." So he's saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. Such a beautiful thing. See, when we, in the material world, when we do something or when we achieve something, we give credit to ourselves. When something goes wrong, we blame others. That is the nature of this material world, right? But here Arjuna, he is giving us the topmost values which are required for our spiritual progress. It's not a material thing. So he's saying that whatever power I had, because of which I achieved all this, that's why I gave the background of all the things that Arjuna had done before, various things he achieved. He is clearly understanding that all that was on account of Krishna's mercy. The astounding power, whatever abilities he had, was purely because of Krishna. And he's completely acknowledging that fact. And what follows is just an expression of gratitude of Arjuna. So he recounts all the incidents that happened in his life and how Krishna in each of those incidents or pastimes, how Krishna helped Arjuna. Right? So this is how he starts off his conversation or responses to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then starting from, in the 5th and 6th verse, Prabhupada also gives very beautiful insights on his purports. Prabhupada says that we should never be puffed up or proud due to borrowed powers. See, all the powers or whatever abilities that we have, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter that he is Paurusham Nrishu. He is the ability in man. So whatever abilities we see, it is nothing but a small manifestation, minute manifestation of Krishna's power. So these are all borrowed powers. These are not our own powers. So whatever we have, whatever abilities we see in others, we should see that as given by Krishna. And Krishna gives it for a specific purpose. After that purpose is fulfilled, he has all the authority because the power has come from him. He can withdraw it anytime. So Prabhupada writes beautifully here that Arjuna, whatever powers Arjuna had, was required for that particular purpose, at that particular time, at that particular circumstances. And after that was fulfilled, those powers were withdrawn because those powers stood in the way of his devotional service. Such a beautiful point. Krishna is so much, Krishna has all the right to take them away, and we should be grateful to Krishna for doing that, for clearing our path back to Godhead. Because Krishna knows best what is good for us, what is required for us to progress spiritually. We don't have the understanding. We may think that this is required, that is required, but devotional service is devoid of all material conditions. So whatever material conditions are there, Krishna will just clear the path. So we should have full faith, like Arjuna has, that all that is required for my spiritual progress, Krishna will retain, will give us, or keep it. So this is what Prabhupada beautifully brings out in this verse. And then from verses 7 onwards till 21st verse, Arjuna is just recounting the blessings of Krishna, whatever blessings he received from Krishna. This is an expression of gratitude. Gratitude is such an important thing in devotion service. It's called as Kritagnyam. So Kritagnyam is one quality that Krishna really appreciates. It comes in the pastime of Prithu Maharaj, I think it's 4:21-44 verse, where one of the qualities that Prithu Maharaj is saying that is appreciated by Krishna is Kritagnyam. Kritagnyam word is very nice. Kritagnya. Krita means some activity, something that somebody has done for you. Jna means to know, which means to fully know what the other person has done for you. Means that is an expression of Sanskrit language is so beautiful. Gratitude, you cannot understand this. I mean, English word, right? But in Sanskrit word, you absolutely understand what does this mean. So Kritagnyam means you fully know what the other person has done for you, and therefore you express your gratitude, or your Kritagnyam. Your Kritagnyam, that is, you are acknowledging what the other person has done, and you are ready to render service to the other person. So service can be performed only on the platform of gratitude. And humility also comes on the platform of gratitude. So here Arjuna is now expressing his deep gratitude to Krishna, and in all the instances, and whatever he thought, or rather not he thought, whatever generally we understood that what was Arjuna's ability, now Arjuna is saying none of that was my ability. Everything was Krishna's mercy. So he starts his recounting his blessings. So first he mentions in the verse 7 is about the Draupadi Swayamvar. We know this famous Swayamvar that happened. That was conducted by Drupad Maharaj. And obviously, Drupad had already kind of made up his mind to give his daughter to Arjuna, because he knew about the powers of Arjuna. But what happened? He had to conduct the Swayamvar ceremony, and only two people could have done it. One is Arjuna, the other one is Karna. So Krishna went and told Draupadi that somehow or the other you have to stop Karna, because he didn't want Karna to participate in that. So when Karna came, so the contest, it was you had to look at the reflection of the fish in the water and then take an aim and hit the eye of the fish. Such a difficult task. But as soon as Karna came, Draupadi said, you are not qualified to participate because you are not a Kshatriya. So he was disqualified. But Karna always kept this thing in his heart, in a vengeful attitude. And later on, we know what happened. So in a way, Krishna helped to remove the obstacle in the path of Arjuna. So it was Krishna who did it. But nowhere in Mahabharata you will see that actually Krishna coming and doing all this. He's always in the background. He never takes credit for anything. That is a great quality of Krishna. And that's how the devotees must be, following Krishna's footsteps. Prabhupada says devotees must be in such a way that they are not seen at all, but they are actually in the background doing everything, doing all kinds of services. We have so many devotees in our congregation. They never come in the front. I'm sitting here and talking, but actually I'm not doing any service. But there are devotees who don't even want to come and sit and take class, like Dinavatsala Prabhu, Raghunandan Prabhu. They are so humble and they are genuinely devotees. They do everything from the background. People like me will come and just make a show of things. So this is how devotee must be, always in the background doing things. We don't even realize they are there. That is the mood of a devotee, and that is what Krishna does. Krishna always gives credit to his devotees, although he is doing everything, but he never takes credit for anything. So here also, in all of these instances, Arjuna is remembering that mood of Krishna, and his gratitude is increasing as he goes and speaks more and more about this. So that was the first one. Second one was the beautiful episode of Mayadanav. So this episode happened when actually Mayadanav, he was in the Khandava Prastha forest, and Indra had to kill him. So Arjuna basically he went and fought, and he rescued Mayadanav, and Mayadanav as a result of that took shelter of Arjuna. Now Krishna actually wanted to kill Mayadanav because he was a demon basically. So when Krishna and Sudarshan Chakra had sent Sudarshan Chakra to kill Mayadanav, actually Mayadanav took shelter of Arjuna, and that actually pleased Krishna internally a lot, because he took shelter of a devotee, and that's why Krishna and Sudarshan Chakra, they stopped chasing him, because he took shelter of devotee. And because he took shelter of devotee, Arjuna also expresses his thing that actually it was not me, it was Krishna's mercy that he took shelter, that he fell at my feet. It was Krishna who protected him, not me. And as a result of that, Mayadana was grateful also. He said that I want to do some service to you. But Arjuna was not, as a devotee, he will never take any personal service. But Krishna insisted that you must do some service to the Pandavas. So he built the beautiful assembly house for the Pandavas. And he also gave the famous club to Bhimasen. So this was a service rendered on the platform of serving a devotee. Krishna was pleased. So Prabhupada writes that by the mercy of Krishna, by the mercy of a devotee, you know Krishna. And by the mercy of Krishna, you get a chance to serve a devotee. So this is a beautiful combination. That's why Krishna and devotees, we never separate. They're always together. It's one entity, Krishna and devotees. So this is the second episode which he recounts. After that, Arjuna is recounting in verse number, I think it's 9, killing of Jarasandha. This is another beautiful episode. So we'll just see snippets of these episodes. We don't have time to go through all of them. So we know this Jarasandha had captured, he was the ruler of Magadha, which is current day Bihar. When I say Bihar, I hope those who are from India know. Right? Bihar is infamous for a lot of things. It's all started with Jarasandha. Excuse me, anybody from Bihar. But it all started with his rule in Magadha. So Jarasandha actually had captured so many kings, and he wanted to give them as sacrifice for Kala Bhairav. Thousands of kings. So Krishna wanted to rescue them, the kings. So he planned incognito. He, Arjuna and Bhima went as Brahmanas, and we know that they asked for a fight. And Jarasandha, although he's a demon, but he was very respectful to Brahmanas, and he would give a lot of charity. So he accepted the fight, but he knew that they are not Brahmanas, because he saw all the injury signs and everything. Brahmanas don't fight, so he knew that they were Kshatriyas. But anyway, he accepted the challenge, and he fought with Bhima. And that fight, we know, it went on for days and days together. Both of them were equally powerful. So Bhima could not defeat Jarasandha. And Jarasandha had a history that when he was born in two halves. And one demon named Jara, she combined them together. And that's why he became Jarasandha. In Sanskrit, Sandhi means to join. So Jarasandha. So Krishna obviously knew his history of his birth. So Krishna gave a clue. He took a twig and he just broke into two pieces. And Bhima got the clue. So somehow or the other he put him on the ground and he just tore apart his legs. And he threw in the opposite direction so that they could never join. And in this way, Arjuna is recounting that only by the mercy of Krishna could Bhima kill Jarasandha. Otherwise it was not possible. So every step of the way, and this also we know, he gave credit to Bhima, that Bhima is the one who fought. Although it was not possible without Krishna. So like this, he remembers this episode. And then the next verse number 10, he's talking about the very infamous episode of Draupadi Mata being disrobed in the assembly. So that also we know that Krishna, this one aspect or this one thing, really Krishna took to heart. And because of that, in the battle of Kurukshetra, all the husbands of these wives of Kauravas, I mean the 100 sons, their wives, all of them became widows because of this just one thing. Just one episode of a woman being disrespected, Krishna will never tolerates. That's why this always in the current, our current modern world also, this aspect is very, very important of protection for women. So Krishna showed by this that he never tolerates any insult to women. And he made sure that all of them became widows. All of the 100 children died. Right? So that also was arranged by Krishna. All the Pandavas were there. Dronacharya was there. Vidura was there. Vidura was not there, I think. Bhishmadev was there. Kripacharya was there. None of them could do anything. It was only Krishna. Actually, she took she sought the help of everyone, the husbands, everyone, but finally she took shelter of Krishna. And as soon as she took shelter of Krishna, Krishna came. And Draupadi Mata was telling Krishna, I am calling you for so long. Where were you? Why you didn't come? Why are you so late? So Krishna responded, I am not late. You are late in calling me. You called me late. You called everyone else. And finally you called me. As soon as you called me, I came. That is Krishna. If you are helplessly taking shelter of Krishna, he will never forsake you. Never he will forsake you. Everything else is a crumbling shelter. We cannot, because they themselves are not independent. They themselves cannot give shelter to others. They are also dependent on Krishna. So how can they give exclusive shelter? That's why in the exchange, in the conversation between Devahuti Mata and Kapila Dev, Devahuti Mata in one verse says, Krishna is Sharanam Sharanyam. He is the shelter of all shelters. So we keep taking shelter, different shelters in the material world, but Krishna is the supreme shelter. Therefore, we must only take shelter of Krishna and no one else. That doesn't mean that we disrespect others, but we know exclusively we have to take shelter of Krishna only. And that's what we see from this episode. Then the next verse, in verse number 11, this famous pastime of Durvasa Muni visiting the Pandavas in the forest. We know this beautiful pastime where Krishna showed his supreme majestic power in this pastime. Nobody could have done this. We cannot dream of anyone else doing this. So we know that Durvasa Muni, when he goes, he always goes with his 10,000 disciples. And Duryodhana actually plotted this. He wanted to somehow or the other make Durvasa curse the Pandavas so that their stay in the forest would be extended forever. And he never wanted them to come back after 13 years. Somehow or the other he was. So my Guru Maharaj is saying that Pandavas were very happy and satisfied in the forest. They had nothing, very simple dwelling, and they were moving from place to place in the forest. But Duryodhana had everything. He was a king, but he was completely disturbed. Right? You see, that's why material things can never make us happy. That was the point. And they were happy because they were constantly remembering Krishna and doing devotional service. And any circumstances they were in, they were always rendering service. So, when Durvasa Muni came to Duryodhana, he served him very nicely because he had an ulterior motive. He served him nicely, and Durvasa Muni, we know that he is easily pleased, easily angered also. So he was very happy with the service. He said, what benediction do you need? He said, I don't need anything. I am happy, but my brothers are suffering in the forest. I want you to go and do some welfare to them. Durvasa Muni did not understand this, his mind. He was a simple person. So he went and he told him that please go at a time. So he knew about this Akshay Patra that Draupadi Mata had, that it would supply unlimited amount of prasadam until she ate. So she would eat towards the end of the day, and after that nothing would remain. Right? So he told Durvasa Muni that you go around 4 o'clock after lunch so that you don't trouble my sister-in-law. She has to prepare so much otherwise. You just go after that so that then it is okay. So he said okay. So he reached around 4 o'clock after lunch, and he said we are going to take bath in the river. We'll come back. We need prasadam ready by the time. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, okay, fine. He thought that Akshay Patra is there, so no problem. But Draupadi Mata had already finished her lunch. So for that particular day, it would not supply anything more. And they didn't have any other capacity to feed 10,000 people, 10,000 plus 1. So she was completely left helpless. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, now it's your problem, you have to manage. See, this is the shelter that we take in the material world. They cannot help you. So she knew immediately she called out to Krishna. And Krishna was having prasadam that time in Rukmini Mata's palace. So she was serving him nice opulent prasadam. Immediately he got up. And he said, I'm going, my devotee is in trouble. Rukmini Mata said, your devotee is always in trouble. At least you have prasadam and go. He said, no, I want to leave immediately. So Maharaj was saying that if we were in his place, we would have finished everything, maybe taken a short nap and then gone. But Krishna was not like that. Immediately he left. As soon as the call from the devotees came, he left immediately. That is Krishna. And he came and he just wanted to play with Draupadi Mata. He said, I'm very hungry, give me something to eat. So Draupadi Mata, that is the problem, we don't have anything. How can I feed you? He said, no, just get the bowl, there must be something. So somehow there was a small piece of vegetable stuck in the bottom of the pot. So Krishna just had that and he said, yes, I am satisfied. Thank you very much. As soon as Krishna said, I am satisfied, all the 10,001, they were taking bath. Immediately they felt that their stomachs were bloated. Immediately they felt, our stomachs are very heavy. They said, we cannot eat anything. Now we cannot go back also. We cannot eat anything, so better we escape from here. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was told Bhim to go and find out, and he knew that, because Durvasa Muni knew that they are very pious souls, so we cannot offend them. So he said, let's just leave immediately before Bhima or somebody comes to call. And that's how Krishna completely removed the problem. Just see his supreme mystic power. Just by having one grain or one piece of vegetable from that, he was satisfied, and he made everyone else fully satisfied. That's why when we say that if you please Krishna, everyone is automatically pleased, we can see from this pastime. So that's how Arjuna is remembering that such a great calamity. Just imagine if Durvasa Muni would have cursed them, they would have been finished. For another, maybe for forever, they would have been in Vanvas. But Krishna is remembering that Arjuna is remembering how Krishna protected them in every situation. Whenever they remembered Krishna, he was there to help them. Then the fight with Lord Shiva, we know this fight that happened. He came as a hunter, and he was very pleased with Arjuna. So here also we see that normally when you fight somebody, the result is not a happy exchange, because there's always some ill feeling after the fighting. But here we see that both of them were very happy. Lord Shiva was very pleased, and he gave a lot of weapons to Arjuna. And he also traveled, as we said, we traveled to heaven at the invitation of Indra. Without the help of Krishna, Arjuna could not have traveled to heaven in the same body, because we know in the Vedas, the Shastras, that there is a process to go to heaven. But by Krishna's mercy, everything was possible for Arjuna. Then in the heaven also, there were many demons. They are known as, what are the names? Nivata Kavachas. I think it appears in one of the verses later. Just see. It comes in verse 13, 1:15-13. So there Arjuna is recounting that how these Nivata Kavachas, they were actually the demons, sons of Diti. They had actually got a boon from Brahma, but they misused the boon, and they started, they became very puffed up and proud, and they were misusing the boon. They were creating a lot of disturbances. So Indra, and they got a boon that no demigod can kill them. That's why Indra had to call Arjuna and Krishna from earthly planet to come and help. So Arjuna came and he fought valiantly. He defeated all of them. There were thousands and thousands of these Nivata Kavachas and millions of soldiers. It devastated everyone without even a single casualty on his side. So that is the greatness of Arjuna, and he fully knew that because of Krishna he could achieve everything. Again he recounts that because of Krishna I achieved what I did. Then after that, in the Ajnatavas we know that there was this episode of when Duryodhana and party found out that maybe Pandavas are hiding here. They attacked the kingdom of Virata so that they could come out and their identity would be exposed. And the condition was that if the identity is exposed, they have to go for another 13 years of Vanvas. So somehow the other, Duryodhana was always trying to find an opportunity to do some harm to the Pandavas. So they stole away the cattle from Virata, kingdom of Virata, and as they were taking away, at this point of time, only Arjuna was there in Virata. The rest of the 4 brothers had gone somewhere else for something. So Arjuna was there only. And then Arjuna asked Uttar, that is Uttara's brother, to be the charioteer. And then he single-handedly defeated everyone. Karna, Dronacharya, Bhishma, everyone was there from the other side. He single-handedly defeated everyone because Krishna, by the mercy of Krishna. Otherwise it's not possible to defeat Karna, Bhishma, Drona. They are actually, in material estimation, much more powerful than Arjuna, especially Bhishma and Karna. We know that they are extremely powerful, and Arjuna could not have defeated them. But by Krishna's arrangement, he could defeat. Not only then, but also in the battle of Kurukshetra, which happened later. So there was a nice pastime that happened during the Mahabharata, when one time Arjuna and Karna were fighting, and Arjuna shot an arrow, such a fierce arrow that Karna with his chariot, he fell 15 feet behind. That was the power of that arrow. And Karna responded back, and he responded back with an arrow which just moved maybe 1 feet. The chariot of Arjuna and Krishna just moved 1 feet. But when this happened, Krishna actually congratulated Karna. He said, "What an amazing archer you are. How could you do this?" Arjuna was saying, "What are you saying, Krishna? I moved him 15 feet back and you didn't say anything. He just moved us 1 feet and you are glorifying him." So Krishna said, if I was not there, if this Hanumanji was not there in your chariot, you would have been out of Kurukshetra. That arrow would have taken you out of Kurukshetra. So this is how Arjuna then remembers this, that only by Krishna's mercy. And even when Karna was very furiously fighting, actually it is explained here in one of the verses that Arjuna says that after all this battle, not even one hair was lost. No, we can see in the movies, right, Bollywood movies or Indian movies, when the hero comes to fight, his hairstyle remains as it is. He would fight 100 people, like Rajnikant or someone like that. He will come and fight 100 people, but his hairstyle will remain as it is. That happens only in movies. In real life, it is not possible, right? But Krishna can do that. Really, he did this. So when Arjuna, not a single hair was damaged, and he knows that it is only because of Krishna. So when Karna once shot an arrow, so only Karna had the ability to actually harm Arjuna. Others could not. So he shot an arrow and it was coming directly at Arjuna. So what did Krishna do? With his toe, he just pressed the chariot. And it just went down a little bit. And the chariot and the arrow hit Arjuna's crown, and crown fell down. Otherwise, it would have just severed his head. So at every moment, just imagine he's a charioteer and he has to look at so many things normally. But because he's Krishna, he's completely aware of what is going to happen, how to protect, using his supreme mystic power, Yogeshwara. So in this way, Krishna was always there protecting Arjuna from all sides in every situation, the Pandavas as well. So this is how Arjuna is remembering that in the Ajnatavas as well as the Kurukshetra battle, how Krishna protected us. So he is remembering and glorifying Krishna and expressing his gratitude. And after this, after he concludes in the 21st verse about these blessings that he got in different situations, now he's talking about his own relationship with Krishna. That how, he himself once was, in the battle normally there is a gap where you have to take care of the horses to feed them water. But we know that Kauravas, they were not really following all the principles. Abhimanyu was killed by deceit. They did not follow dharma in killing Abhimanyu. So they could have easily killed Arjuna also same way. But when Arjuna was doing this, he has gotten from the chariot to feed water to the horses. They could have easily killed, but by the presence of Krishna, actually nothing happened to Arjuna. Right? So again, he remembers even that minute detail, that when I got down from the chariot to feed my horses, even then I was protected by Krishna. And then he is expressing his guilt, a feeling of guilt, saying that, such a great personality, I took him for granted. I minimized his importance. He uses the word minimized. I minimized his importance. I took him for granted. I didn't know that he's although my dear friend, but he is supreme personality of Godhead. I minimized his importance. And he knew very well that Krishna is somebody who would sell himself for devotees. As we saw, that Krishna can do anything for his devotees. And at the same time, the Lord relishes this relationship with the devotees. Not that he's disturbed or feeling bad about it. In fact, Prabhupada says that this relationship with the devotees, whether it is in a happy mood or sometimes in a chastising mood like Mother Yashoda, trying to bind Krishna, all of these things Krishna actually appreciates more than the chanting of Vedic hymns. So those who are chanting Vedas and trying to please Krishna, he likes it, but he prefers more this relationship with the devotees, relating with him as a friend, as a conjugal lover, as a father, a mother. So this is what Krishna appreciates more, because there is a natural exchange of love in these dealings. Otherwise, it is purely awe and reverence in the worship of Krishna. He doesn't appreciate that so much. But doesn't mean that we in our practicing stage, we have to follow the principles of devotion service. But ultimately, the platform of pure devotion service is only based on pure natural love. It's not based on regulations. Okay. So after remembering all of these blessings, Krishna, go back to this verse. So this verse number 20 and 21, which are very important, especially the verse 21, which is a very beautiful verse, where Arjuna is saying three things. He says that I have the same Gandiva bow, the same arrows, the same chariot, drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna to whom all the kings offered the due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It's a very beautiful verse where he's saying that without Krishna, everything has become null and void. And it's exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes. If you offer butter on ashes, nothing is going to come out of it. Accumulating money with a magic wand, it's not real money. And sowing seeds on barren land, even the seed is good, the land is barren, nothing is going to come out of it. So our material abilities without Krishna is like these three things, that examples that Arjuna is saying here. So he is completely now expressing all of his blessings in the form of this gratitude in this verse, where he's saying that without Krishna, everything is null and void. And Prabhupada emphasizes the same point of borrowed plumes, like things borrowed. Peacock has plumes. So if you take peacock and try to put on yourself, you don't become a peacock, or you don't have any qualities of a peacock. We don't become as beautiful as a peacock, right? So that is what Prabhupada is saying, borrowed plumes. So whatever powers we have received from Krishna has to be used in Krishna's service. That is the purpose for which those powers have been given to you at the first place. So all of these things Arjuna was given because Krishna wanted him as an instrument to establish dharma, and to give all the credit to Arjuna. But all those powers were invested in him only for that purpose. And after that was achieved, it was taken away. So Krishna, before this actually, in one of the verses, I think it is in verse number 20. Yeah. So 20, Arjuna is recounting this very nice, very famous pastime of, we mentioned that Krishna told Arjuna through Daruka that he has to come and take away the queens to a safer place. So when Arjuna came, he was taking the queens of Krishna to a safer place. He was attacked by some cowherd men, and Arjuna could not defeat them. So Arjuna is thinking that here I am, I fought all the great generals in the army, all great Kshatriyas, all Maharathas, and here they are ordinary cowherd men, or not even Kshatriyas, they are just Vaishyas with no skills in military arts. How could they defeat me? So he could understand that whatever powers he had have been taken away by Krishna, because it is not required now. Dharma has been established, Yudhishthira Maharaj is the king. So these powers, if it is with me, I will only misuse these powers. So Krishna has withdrawn these powers. And actually the deeper point behind this episode is related by Prabhupada in their purport. Prabhupada explains that Ashtavakra Muni, one time he visited the heavenly planet, and the daughters of the demigods served him very nicely, and he was very pleased with them, and they asked a benediction that we would like to participate in Krishna's pastimes, we would like to become his wives, because we worship him, so we want to have this relationship with Krishna in his pastimes. So Ashtavakra Muni said, yes, I grant you the benediction. But at the same time, Ashtavakra Muni had a problem. He was bent in 8 places in his body. So sometimes when he was walking, he would walk in a very awkward manner. So all the daughters, they started laughing when Ashtavakra Muni was walking. So this offended the Muni, and he cursed them that, you will lose Krishna as a husband after this pastime is over. So they fell at his feet and asked for forgiveness. So he said, okay, don't worry. So Krishna will arrange something. So this is what happened now. So the cowherd men were not ordinary cowherd men. Actually, Krishna himself came as the cowherd man, one of the cowherd men. And he, obviously, if Krishna comes, Arjuna cannot fight Krishna. So he didn't come as Krishna. If he had come as Krishna, Arjuna would have not fought. He would have asked Krishna to take the wives. But he came as a cowherd man so that Arjuna would not identify. And he also wanted Arjuna to realize, to make him humble, that these powers are not yours actually. They have been given by me. So that is how Krishna enacted the pastime to fulfill the benediction of Ashtavakra Muni. So it was just a pastime to take them back to the respective positions back in the heavenly planet or wherever they were. So that was how Krishna enacted this pastime. So in verse 21, we come back to verse 21, where Arjuna is saying that, these 3 things, that everything has become null and void. So from this we can derive some important lessons. That we should know that our situation is very dangerous without Krishna. So being devoid of Krishna is actually the most dangerous situation we can put ourselves in. So we can have any amount of material facilities, but if we don't have Krishna, that is actually the most dangerous situation we are in. Because none of the material things are going to help us. We have seen this. At the time of death, we cannot take anything from this material world. Nothing is going to accompany us. Only our devotion service. Our stock or devotion service is the only asset that can accompany us to the next life. And that is by the mercy of Krishna. So only Krishna consciousness is the real asset. So we should understand always that never to depend on material things and always being fully dependent on Krishna. Then naturally what follows is the futility of this material body and the possessions, material possessions. So it follows from the first point that we should never have too much faith in our body itself as well as our possessions. We should only be worried about using these things in the service of Krishna. And naturally, the more material things we accumulate, the more difficult it becomes for us to free ourselves from these material things and dedicate ourselves to devotional service. Guru Maharaj used to give example of waiting room consciousness. In the platform consciousness. If you are in the platform, in India especially, you experience when the trains come and there are thousands of people coming out, you also have to get into the train. If you have too much of luggage, it's very difficult to get in. Right? We have experienced it. So the lesser luggage, the lesser baggage you have, easier to get into the train. The lesser baggage means the lesser things materially we possess. The more simpler life we lead, easier it is for us to give up those things and dedicate ourselves to Krishna. And that way we develop a very peaceful attitude in life. And peaceful attitude means our health also is improving, because the main thing behind our health is the mental state. Our mental state actually determines our health. So the more peaceful we become, it will reflect in our body also. And naturally we don't waste time in other things. Leading a simple life means we don't waste time, because time is a tool of Krishna. It's in Krishna's hand. Time is taking away. As we spend days and nights, the time is going away. Ayur harati vai pumsam. By rising and setting of a sun, one day is gone. But the more the time we devote to Krishna, that time is actually added to our credit. Last week we saw the story of the rich man, he said that only 5 years he has spent. So his age is 5 years. Something like that, So whatever time we have spent in devotional service is the actual asset that we have created. Everything else is null and void. And Krishna is our only capital. That is the final lesson from this verse we can understand. That Krishna is our capital means he is the only savior, he is the only protector, he is the only asset of our life. Everything else has value as long as we have Krishna in front. So it's like a 1 and a 0. We saw that zeros have value only if there is 1 in the front. So Krishna is our capital. If we keep Krishna in the center of our life, we devote our life to Krishna, we can have everything else around us, family, material things, house and everything else. But all of them, if we are able to dovetail in the service of Krishna, that is our real wealth. So this is what we can take away from Arjuna's prayers. And after this, Arjuna informs Yudhishthira of the Lord's disappearance. And then now Yudhishthira Maharaj, also being a devotee, he is ready to leave because he's already got a hint. And Arjuna is confirmed now. So immediately they drop everything and they hand over the kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj. And they are ready to leave now. So the subsequent verses will explain how Yudhishthira Maharaj, how they completely gave up everything. Although he was the emperor of the whole world, how easily he could give up everything, because his goal in life was very fixed. His goal, as we saw these important points, no attachment to material things, simple life, peaceful attitude, no wasting time in any things, right? And this is how he is ready to leave. And finally Arjuna, this is very important, we'll conclude with that. So Arjuna now is remembering, as a result of this expression of gratitude, his humility, now he is able to remember all the instructions. So what we can understand from this is for us to follow the instructions of a spiritual master, it must be on the platform of gratitude and humility. This is what Arjuna is teaching us here. By his expression of gratitude, he has become so humble that now he is able to remember all the instructions of Krishna that were imparted to him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, mainly Bhagavad Gita. Right? So Bhagavad Gita, all the instructions, specifically here he mentions, all the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, now I'm able to remember. So this is the platform of remembering the instructions. Only if you can remember, you can follow. So first step is to remember. Only meditation and remembrance will help us to follow the instructions. So that is what Arjuna is teaching here. And we see from this that how all these ill feelings, all the contaminations in the heart, all the feelings of dejection were completely removed as soon as Arjuna remembered the instructions of Krishna. So this is a way for us, very practical way for us. So Prabhupada explains that in our spiritual lives, we don't have the fortune of having a physical association of a spiritual master all the time. It's practical, it's for everyone. None of us have the opportunity to associate with the physical form of the spiritual master all the time. So what really keeps us floating in devotion service is how we follow the instructions. So the Vani Seva is more important than Vapu Seva. This is what Arjuna is teaching us, that Krishna is left, but his instructions are with me. And by remembering those instructions, few things happen in Arjuna. So what Arjuna says is that by remembering these instructions, first of all, his mind became pacified. So this comes in the verse 28 to 31, concluding part, before the Pandavas retire. So this conclusion part. So verses 28 to 31 explain what happens to Arjuna as a result of remembering those instructions. So verse 27, he says that I am now remembering those instructions which are imparted to me by Govinda, Krishna. Now 28 to 31, he explains what happens as a result of that. So first thing is, mind is pacified. This is the most important thing. As we said, mind is the root cause of all our miseries. In the 11th canto also this point comes out, where the Avadut Brahmana says that nothing is a cause of disturbance. My mind is a cause of all the misery. So the mind becomes pacified by remembering the instructions of spiritual master. Here Krishna is seen as a spiritual master to Arjuna. Then what happened as a result? His devotional service increased rapidly. Such a beautiful thing. Only in a pacified mind, when the mind is pacified, can we really concentrate on devotional service. And our devotional service will increase rapidly. And as a result, what happened? All the trash within his thoughts subsided. Trash in thoughts meaning all the lower modes, mode of ignorance, mode of passion. All of this completely were removed. So he remained only in the state of goodness. And Bhagavatam also explains in the first canto, second chapter, the process of approaching Krishna, the famous verses, Shranavata Swakatha Krishna, the Nashtapraya Shabhadreshu, Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava. All those series of verses explain exactly the same thing that Arjuna is experiencing here. So Arjuna is experiencing that all the mind pacified, increase of devotion rapidly, as a result of which all the trash in his thoughts were subsided. And then what happens? He was established in his constitutional position after that. So only when we are removed from the influence of the lower modes of passion and ignorance, and we are established in the mode of goodness, then only we can understand who we are, what is our duty. So he was established in his constitutional position as a result of that. And then what happened as a result? All the doubts of duality. So duality means the material symptoms. All the doubts of duality were completely cut off. This also comes in the first canto, second chapter, the last verse, which says that all the anarthas were removed. So all the dualities means, again, dualities, the meaning of dualities Prabhupada explains. Dualities here means that we truly understand that what is our position, what is Krishna's position. So there is no doubt regarding, there's no duality in this aspect of who is Krishna, who are we. Right? So we fully understand that Krishna is the Supreme, we are his eternal servants. Then removing duality also means that we accept Krishna in every situation. Not that we go to Krishna only when there's a reverse, when there's happy situation we don't go. So there's no duality in our dealings with Krishna. In every situation we see the hand of Krishna. And that's what we see in the life of Pandavas. Kunti Maharani we saw, Bhishma Dev we saw, Arjuna also is showing the same thing. Despite whatever situations, we saw the hand of Krishna. And this mentality of I am the doer, that is removed. That is the other duality. And he experienced himself from the episode of the kidnapping of the wives of Krishna. It was very clear that it was not him. He couldn't do anything. Arjuna couldn't do anything. So it was completely clear to him that he is not the doer. Ultimately, Krishna is the one who is the doer. So these three things were completely removed from Arjuna's heart, and he was completely peaceful, Shanta, completely sober, and he was established fully in his constitutional position. This is the lesson we have to learn from Arjuna, that how in our own life we have to meditate and follow the instructions of the spiritual master, which is coming in the Parampara system. Then we also will experience the same symptoms. It is guaranteed by Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada also emphasized that in the purports. So it is 6:30 and I'll conclude here, 6:35. Sorry, I've taken 5 minutes extra. Unfortunately, we couldn't cover Parikshit Maharaj because we intended to also talk about him to complete the whole dynasty of the Pandavas, but we will do that some other time. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Srila Gurudev ki, Jai Gaur Premanande. Don't think we have time for questions. So we will chant the 15th chapter. Somebody can chant. Radharshi Mataji, you want to lead chanting?
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोदर्शक श्रीमती शिवांगी अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन बीबीटीबीआर फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोदर्शक श्रीमती शिवांगी नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपिका श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की जय, षडगो स्वामी प्रभुगण की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Gaur Hari Bol. Krishna, Guru Mataji. So thank everyone for coming together on this Saturday evening program. So tomorrow we will continue the last series of Purushottam Mass special lectures. Because tomorrow is the last weekend. After that, next weekend I think we'll see if Prithviraj who wants to continue, then we'll announce more. So Prasadam packets are being distributed below. So devotees are requested to collect your packet and please leave the center as soon as possible because you're not supposed to stay on for long.